And welcome back to Jeff Koinange live at the Intercontinental Hotel. What a guest! In fact, many of you may not have heard the name Stephen Kigwa, but at the end of JKL tonight, he will be a household name because this man, what an inspiration. A man who's written 7 books, working on his 8th, and the books are all about inspiring, motivating, lifting people when they're down. People feeling helpless and hopeless. This could be the answer. Could very well be. Twitter handles at @skigwa, at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag is JKL. Stephen, your first book, very first book, Fruitful and Quality.
Yes.
It seems more religious, if you will. It's more...
Actually, it's a very spiritual book.
Yes.
Yes.
Go on. And you said you wrote it in college.
Yes. I'm a Christian. And when I studied the Bible, I discovered that the Bible promises a lot of joy to Christians. But when I looked around, I saw Christians looking miserable, like they had been baptized in lemon juice, you know. And I was like, what was lacking? And I started doing some research, talking to them, you know, observing their lives. And I discovered they lack some ingredients from the Bible. So I learned those things and I assembled them and put them together in this book. So anybody who wants to be a fruitful Christian, this is the book to read. It helps them to be able to build prayer power and all that. It's a very spiritual book, that one.
What's the bottom line message other than building prayer power? What's the bottom line?
The bottom line is that people who know you don't know you yet. Because people only know you based on your past. They don't know your future. In fact, when people know about your past, they even kind of say your name or you in a certain folder and they say, this is how far he can go. But they don't even know what you can do. They don't know what you carry. They don't know what you can achieve. They try to rate you based on your past.
And
yes.
Going to church every Sunday doesn't necessarily make you a Christian, doesn't it?
It doesn't, of course. Even having a Bible does not make you a holier Christian. Even just by having, you have to study the Bible and read it and practice it.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was the reaction from this book?
So far, the people who read it, of course, are people who are seeking spiritual solace, spiritual food and all that. So it's really for a specific niche in the market for people who are Christians and people who are churchgoers. Yes.
Book number 8, which is coming out in December.
Yes.
What is that about?
It's called The Trick of Life.
The Trick of Life.
The Trick of Life. You know, life has some secrets. And the people who discover the secrets, they tweak their lives and they leverage on what God has put within them and they go forward and they go far in life. The secret is not some mystical code that anyone would have to go all the way to the Far East to look for it. No, it's actually very simple. It's actually about our thoughts. That's the secret and the trick about life. Because what you dwell upon continuously will tend to manifest itself in your reality. And it's all about that. It's about how you guard your thoughts, how you build positive thoughts, how you build self-esteem and self-confidence, which is the hinge upon which turns the doors of all human achievement. It's all about that.
And when you tell the 13, the 14-year-olds, the Form 2s, the Form 3s,
yes,
when you talk to them about spirituality, when you talk to them about hope in this day and age, what do they tell you? What is their biggest concern?
There's something I normally do when I go to schools. I actually start by asking them, I want you to write down for me your greatest challenge, the greatest problem you have in life, whether it is, you know, academics, spiritual life, whether it has something to do with your home background, academic, whatever it is, write it down. And I go around and I want them to show me, so for me to know exactly what's their problem. And I have done that in a number of schools and I find there's similarities in all the schools I've been to. Mm-hmm. Some of them, the challenge is, you know, they are not getting good marks. Some of them is school fees. Some of them is they never see their parents, their father, their mother. They don't see them in a long while and all that. Some of them is their background. They feel like the kind of inhibited because of where they came from. So what I do is I give them my experiences in life. I share with them my own personal experiences. For example, I tell them how I was born and raised up in the countryside, and those days we used to be taught English in vernacular. You can imagine. You are being taught English in vernacular.
In vernacular. Go on, give me an example.
And like I used to be taught in school, elephant. Now, can you imagine you're taught like that and you are expected to learn how to speak this language?
Yes.
I went through my primary school life like that. And I went to high school. I was a brilliant boy, I would imagine so. And I was...
You got top marks?
Yes, I got an admission to join a provincial school. In that school, there were boys from all over the country. Some of them had gone to to nice boarding primary schools, nice academies, where they had been taught English in English. So the first night was a very difficult night for me because I couldn't speak to anyone. I actually hid myself in a corner far back in the classroom. And I overheard some two boys who had sat away ahead of me say, Mazi, check that boy at the corner there. He's so much of a suba, he can't even make a friend. And I was so offended, but I couldn't say anything. How would I have said it?
What is a suba?
Suba is, suba in our days is someone slack, slothful.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I remember telling myself, by the time I'm done with my 4 years in this school, I'll be the best speaker and the best orator. So what I did, I began a club in that school. And I said, boys, here it is. Join me if you like, especially if you come from the village like me. The rules were no speaking in vernacular. If you're caught speaking in vernacular, the fine would be 1 bob. And 1 bob then was a lot of money because it was equivalent to a half loaf of bread. And bread was very important to students.
Sure.
So just by getting hold of 2 guys speaking in vernacular, you had a whole loaf. So during break times, Jeff, what I used to do, I would go and associate with the boys who had come from the urban cities. And if those days, if you said you came from Buru, man, you belong there in the society. So I would go talk with them, chat with them, but of course they would laugh at me. Everything I said was wrong. My pronunciation was wrong. Everything, my tense is wrong.
Elephant.
Yes, I mean, they would make fun of me. I never got rest even from my friends from village like me. They were telling me, man, we know your father, we know your mother, your brother, sisters. Why are you trying to pretend to be somebody that you are not? We know you. But I was determined. And one day when I was in Form 3, I was given a chance to go in front of 702 boys to lead the entire school in morning devotion. We were just about to go home for the April holiday. So I went there and I opened up my Bible, I read a verse. I still remember in the book of Proverbs, and I read a verse. And after I read, I thought to myself, why don't I share with my colleague students my insight on this verse? So I went on explaining for 10, 15 minutes, and then I went back to we used to queue on the assembly ground. So we were actually closing school. So the principal had allowed other teachers to come forward and word of advice to the boys before we went home. So the teacher who came forward was the teacher who was in charge of literature department. He came forward and he said, where is that boy who was leading us today in morning prayers? And I said, oh my goodness me.
What did I do?
Must have done some grammatical errors.
Yeah.
But I lifted up my head trembling, but he said something that really changed my thinking and my life. He said, 2 things actually. He said, did you hear how well he articulated his points? Did you see how he spoke with confidence? He said, next time when we resume, I would like you to come and see me because you are going to participate in public speaking. So when we resumed school in the 2nd term, we had an internal competition in that school, and a boy who could not speak English in Form 1, in Form 3 was top. Oh, I went to the zonal level, was position 1. Went to the district level, position 1. Was defeated position 2 at the provincial level. A boy who could not speak English in Form 1. So these are the kind of stories I tell students. You can do it. If this boy has done it,
yes,
you can do it too.
And what did the other students think? What did those ones who called you that name was a super or whatever?
Of course, with time, you see, people will always laugh at you when you do something. Anytime you try to do something new, you will feel awkward, it will look odd. Anything, whether it's learning how to swim, you will be odd. People will laugh at you. But the moment they see your commitment, your determination, and your perseverance, then they start, wait a minute, what have we got here? Now they start applauding. The same guys who are laughing at me are the same guys now who are applauding me.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
The guy who beat you to number 2 in the provincials, do you remember who it was?
No, I don't remember who it was.
Do you remember what school?
I actually don't even remember the school.
But you came 2nd.
Yes, I was
in the province.
At the provincial level.
Did you do it the following year, or was this your last year?
No, I was in my third year in high school. So the following year I was sitting for my KCSE. So I was doing seriously on books now. Yes.
What did you want to be leaving school when you went to university? What did you want to do?
You might be amazed, Jeff, because my father was a pastor, and I actually admired sitting at the back in the church when he would be preaching and give stories, inspiring stories and all that. I wanted to do the same thing, but I did not want to become a pastor. But I didn't know what it is that I could do that was similar to that until one day I met with an old Jamaican lady who told me, young man, don't you know you can actually do the speaking? It's called motivational speaking as a career. And I said, you think so? She said, yes. That's when I took it on.
Where was this?
That was in Westlands. I was actually attending a meeting it was actually a meeting about multi-level marketing, and I was given a chance to go and talk to people, and I spoke, and there was a lady in that audience, and she came and said, young man, I think you can make a career in motivational speaking. That's when it started.
That's what you did?
Yes.
And it pays. I mean, it pays for you.
That's how I educate my children. That's how I feed my children. That's how I pay my bills.
Do you tell your children, how old is the oldest?
He's turning 11 of this month.
Perfect.
Yes.
Do you tell your children about the stories you're telling this audience right here, walking from Kangemi? Is it Kangemi?
That is from Kangemi and down
all the
there.
way into town.
I have to, because I actually have something I call Daddy's class, where I sit with my children and I tell them, because if I don't tell them, who will?
What do they say? Do they think you're making stories up?
No, they actually think it is fun, so they just laugh, and I tell them, guys, it is true, you need to work hard. Things don't just fall from the skies like that. The fact that you can eat food that you don't know where it came from, you can put on clothes you don't know where they came from, doesn't mean things just happen like that. People have to work hard. I have to try to make sure that they get that.
We have a lot of children. There's a whole generation of kids who actually think things fall from the skies.
Yes.
You know, they get toys every other day.
Yes.
They get driven to and from school. Everything is there for them.
But that's the problem with the parents. You know why? Because parents nowadays have become too busy looking for investment. Actually, I say they invest for their children. They don't invest in them. They try to compensate for the time that they don't spend with their children by buying them presents. That is a problem.
Yeah.
It's parenting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then half of these children
Yes.
get raised, brought up by the maids.
By the maids.
Right?
Yes. You can imagine. Now you have delegated the duty of raising up the children to the maid.
Isn't that going to come down the line?
I've been to, and sometimes I actually have to call parents myself when I sit down with these children and I say, what's the problem? Because when I talk with them, I give them time to come and ask me questions. Some of them tell me, I want to speak to you in private. And I sit with them, they tell me, you know what, I have a problem with my mother. I have a problem with my father. Like I do remember. Many tell me how my father or my mother has been pushing me, yet they don't do ABCD. They don't appreciate who I am and all that. It's actually about parenting. Parents have delegated the duty of raising up the children to the teachers.
To the teachers.
That's a problem.
And then, other problems that we read about every now and then is suicide rates.
Yes.
Among teens.
Yes.
Among teens. What kind of problems could you have to want to commit suicide
And
as a teen?
Unfortunate thing, Jeff, is that majority of those suicides, again, are committed by men.
Boys.
Boys. That's why I actually said it's hard to be a man. Like you said, it's men. We are an endangered species.
Endangered species.
There are many things. Like today, I was speaking with one of the teachers in a certain school somewhere, and he mentioned to me that in his experience, students can come up with all manner of things, especially if they don't like the school. They will try to do all manner of crazy things. If someone is not comfortable with who they are and where they are, that means their self-esteem is down. They sink into a mild depression. And in trying to get up, if they don't get any attention, someone willing to help them, that's when they think of committing suicide. That's when they think of taking some poison and all that.
And that's when they think of burning their dorms.
Their dorms, yes.
Remember a few years ago,
Yes,
that was the big thing?
That's that thing that used to happen all
Yes.
over. Yes.
It's madness.
Yes.
But something went wrong somewhere. Can we get me back? I mean, can they get them back?
We can. You know, everything rises. I like what John C. Maxwell once said, that everything falls and rises on leadership. It's all about leadership. Because if the kind of leadership system that we have put in place is such that you never get to hear what these people are up to, what they are thinking, what are their interests, what are their concerns, then you're about to see such things happening. But of course, we cannot negate the fact that we have got bad influences also from the society.
Yes.
People who deal with drugs and they go sell them to the student and all that.
I want to talk about that after the break, Stephen. You know, drugs is a huge issue.
Yes.
Alcoholism, you name it. These kids are looking for escapes in this day and age that, it was foreign to us.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that after the break. At Eskigwa, at Koinange Jeff, the hashtag is JKL. What a story. What an inspiration. That's what Inspiration Thursday is all about. You can pick up Stephen Kigwa's various book center and the other bookshops around the country and the city. I Want Me Back is a must read. Great stories, humble stories, ordinary stories by an ordinary Kenyan doing extraordinary things. JKL takes another break. Please keep tweeting. We'll be back in a moment.